In my opinion, Baldi's Basics has got to be the most mistreated indie horror franchise on YouTube nowadays, bar none. You see, when most people make a video on Baldi now, they'll flock to the classic remastered version of the game, complete its classic style mode, and then claim they beat Baldi's Basics, without taking into account any of the other modes or secret boss fight. I would know, I'm one of those people. This ignorance even extends to the new version of the game, Baldi's Basics Plus, as even though the game has now become an incredibly cool roguelike featuring randomly generating levels, new characters, and random events, creators are more inclined to play some sloppy horror mod of the original over a game with some actual substance. So instead of treating Baldi's Basics Plus as a game I never heard of before just like everybody else, I want to see if you can complete the entire game without using any items. The rules are quite simple. For one, I must clear all 5 floors of Baldi's Super Schoolhouse on a random seed without utilizing a single item. So no bee sodas to push Baldi away, no tapes to distract him, and no apples for him to chow down on. Secondly, I must play in the game's strict difficulty, which means if I die at any time on any of the 5 floors, I must reset entirely back to floor 1 with a completely new seed. If all goes well, I'll have a super cool challenge that shows off a super cool game. And that's all this video was supposed to be. A super cool challenge for a super cool game. But over the next 45 hours, Baldi's Basics Plus broke me. I was subjected to the hardest challenge by far I've ever attempted on this channel. A challenge that stripped victory away from me at every possible opportunity. And a challenge that made me feel like I would never be able to do it no matter how hard I tried. This is Baldi's Basics Plus with no items. And our story begins with a very simple question. That being, why is Baldi so difficult? I'll be real with you all. If I were to just drop headfirst into the challenge without explaining anything, Baldi's Basics Plus would look like the most nonsensical game I've ever played. No contest. Before we get into any specifics though, I want to answer a pretty general question to start. That being, why is Baldi so hard? Well, to put it bluntly, Baldi's Basics Plus is a game designed to screw you over at almost every possible opportunity. Whether it's any of the characters catching you at an inopportune time, an event placing Baldi right next to you, or even the world generation itself sticking you between a rock and a hard place, most everything found within the game wants you to fail. Normally, items are the antithesis to counteract these obstacles, as if you're dealt a bad hand, they can get you out of almost any terrible situation. Do you not want Baldi to find you? Just slap that f***ing tape that he hates in the tape player so he can't find you. Is Baldi about to catch you? Just crack open a cold bee soda and blast him away. Has Baldi actually caught you? Just give him an apple and watch him absolutely demolish that thing, saving your life entirely. Without any items though, we barely have any way to protect ourselves from Baldi or any of the other characters in a schoolhouse. And due to the strict difficulty, if we die once within any part of the run, we must start all over again. For context, because the game expects you to die a lot, in a normal mode playthrough, you get 3 lives per floor. So if you get caught, you have multiple opportunities to try again. Therefore, we're going from 15 lives across all 5 floors to only having 1. Now, for those who don't know, for every run of Baldi's Basics Plus, you must go through 5 floors, each with a set amount of notebooks to collect and a set amount of exits to leave at, all while trying to avoid getting caught by Baldi, who gets faster for every notebook you collect like in the original. You obtain these notebooks by either solving a math problem, popping balloons until you have a specified amount, or completing a matching minigame. And once you collect them all, you have to go around and activate all the exits on a floor, before leaving at the final one. Immediately, I noticed a bit of a problem. You see, ignoring all the times I died on floor 1, I had a 100% success rate. As with only 4 notebooks to collect, you can still outrun Baldi with no items. He really isn't that fast. Floor 2 is definitely a step up as there are more notebooks to collect alongside the map getting larger, which can lead to you getting lost in the floor thinking, where is the 7th notebook? But with a bit of luck, it's still perfectly manageable. And then we hit floor 3, aka the wall. Floor 3 is where all of my no items runs would meet their demise for two very simple reasons. For one, we now have to collect 9 notebooks, and this makes Baldi quite the chaser. So if he spots my beautiful body, I'm most likely screwed, as he'll have become so fast that he'll outpace my running speed. Secondly, Floor 3 is when all the problematic events and characters want to screw you over in every way possible. You see, in Baldi's Basics Plus, Baldi Baldimore himself can come down on his little pizza tower monitor to tell you a random event is taking place, and sometimes they aren't that bad. For example, the test procedure event causes a bunch of metal doors to shut around the school for a while, which can section off certain areas. The only time it's ever an issue though is when 2 doors shut and trap you in an enclosed area, as when those doors finally open 30 years later, Baldi will say,
"Haha, we found one. A real one."
Most of the time though, these events really suck, such as the flood event, which causes whirlpools to spawn that can warp you all around the map. More often than not, this event is only a detriment, as it can either warp Baldi next to you, or warp you next to Baldi, ending your run just because you got unlucky. But by far, the worst event has to be the open house.
Hey everyone! The open house is about to begin! Things are about to get...
Oh no. If you get this event, tons of snot-nosed brats pour inside the school and sweep you into their horde, trapping you inside their mob. And if Baldi also gets caught in their onslaught with you, it's a game over. If you get caught by the students, you are at the mercy of the game to see if you live or not. In all honesty, the best thing to do when this event happens is just to sit in a corner and wait for the event to eventually end. There's no use fighting it. But it's not just the events, as all of the characters from the original Baldi's Basics return in Plus, and without items, they can be a living nightmare to deal with. For example, the principal of the thing still gives you a detention if he spots you breaking a school rule, but without the principal's keys, there's no way to escape early if Baldi's about to catch you. First Prize still shoves you around the map, but without the safety scissors to disable him, if he shoves you into Baldi, you're screwed. And It's a Bully now turns into a complete blockade of any hallway he spawns in, as with no items for him to steal, we get no pass. So here's a question. If Baldi outpaces us at 9 notebooks, if the game gives us these terrible events to endure, and we have to somehow avoid the negative effects of every single character, how is it even possible to clear Floor 3 with no items? Well, you see, in order to make the impossible possible, we're gonna need to pay a visit to Johnny.
Hi, I'm Johnny. Welcome to my store.
What the f- Who are you? You weren't in Baldi's Basics the musical? You see, even if we can't collect any items in Baldi's Basics Plus, there are a few things we still can collect, namely these U-Thought points that can spawn in different floors. You can use these to purchase things in between floors at Johnny's shop, and although we can't buy any items, we can purchase sticker packs, which grant us stickers that give us unique effects when equipped. They end up getting a separate inventory differentiating them from items entirely, so they're fair game in my eyes. Anyways, there's about 3 different ones we want to look out for in these packs. Firstly is easily the best one, the elevator gears, which reduces the amount of exits you have to activate on a floor before you can leave by 1, stamina boost, which increases your built-in stamina by 25%, and great job, which increases the time Baldi praises you by 3 seconds. For context, every time you solve something correctly, Baldi will pause his chaser mentality for a bit in order to praise you, and you can utilize this mechanic in order to both safely make escapes and make distance. Also, if you take a left before the shop at floor 3, you can go on a field trip.
Let's go camping!
Oh my god, it's just like Baldi's Field Trip, the musical!
Let's go camping! Wait, you don't have a bus pass. You'll need one if you want to go on a field trip.
Yeah, unfortunately, we aren't able to go on that field trip for free, as without being able to grab items, we can't pick up the bus pass that lets us hop aboard. Thankfully, something you can hop aboard for free is that like and subscribe button. Really? This is the best I could come up with for the like and subscribe segue. Really, I mean, come on, this is just terrible. Just absolutely terrible. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. This challenge ended up taking me the longest to record out of any so far. You'll see why soon enough. And I'm taking a risk on doing it on a game that isn't all that popular these days. So if you guys want to help your favorite white boy get out of making FNAF content for the rest of his life, your support would mean the world to me. Thanks. Anyways, Johnny's store isn't the only place that can help us out in avoiding Baldi, as a lot of the amenities present in the schoolhouse itself can help us out in our notebook collecting endeavor. You see, in Baldi's Basics Plus, there are a few beneficial structures that can be generated in the schoolhouse, such as the water fountain, which refills our stamina bar upon clicking it. Now, sometimes you can get 3 that spawn right next to each other, which feels a bit excessive, but something we definitely can't get enough of are lockers, as you're able to hide in these while also refilling stamina. The best part is, even if you enter one with Baldi right behind you and he makes it in front of the locker, he'll let out an
I know you're in there.
And if you leave before he finishes talking, it both lets you escape scot-free and make a ton of distance on him. I'm telling you, man, if Baldi was a killer in Dead by Daylight, just have him say this line while checking a locker. It'd be perfect.
I know you're in there.
As a final note, you can even use the schoolhouse itself to take care of characters without items, even ones such as Playtime. Long gone are the days where you had to watch a grown man crash out on a 7-year-old. As even without safety scissors, there are now numerous ways of ending Playtime's jump rope minigame. Either 1, enter a locker to cancel it, 2, jump to a classroom door and shut it, or 3, hop around a corner in order to break line of sight so the minigame ends. Playtime is honestly one of the easiest characters to deal with itemless. She really isn't that bad anymore. Now, even with all these stickers and character-specific tech at my disposal, 95% of the time, you're still gonna lose runs at floor 3 just because you got unlucky. For instance, in this clip here, I was stuck in detention at the principal's office, but thankfully I hit a nasty ankle break on Baldi utilizing this table to save myself. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because Gotta Sweep showed up, shoved me back towards Baldi, and gave me a game over. As a reminder, if only one of these unfortunate predicaments happen across any of the 5 floors, it's an instant restart. And with how long these floors can take to clear, it only gives all the more opportunities for Lady Luck to be a cruel mistress. I'm starting to believe this thumbnail has a point. Also, I had to put in a ton of time just learning the game itself, as there aren't a ton of guide videos for Baldi's Basics Plus on YouTube. Really, you're more likely to find videos on things like, I don't know, the Joseph mod? Wait a second, Joseph isn't supposed to look like that, he's supposed to look like a Koopa! But after multiple hours of attempts and many failed runs, I finally got 1 run past floor 3, although it was probably in the most scuffed way possible. You see, when I had 8 out of the 9 notebooks, the bully ended up spawning right in front of the final room, and Baldi was right on my tail. This led to me playing a game of Ring Around the Rosie where I ran to a water fountain and locker over and over in order to evade Baldi for a minute straight. But when the bully eventually despawned, I finally grabbed the final notebook and finally left at the floor's last exit. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that may only put us halfway into the challenge, and the run might have immediately died at floor 4, but I still think this is an important milestone to celebrate. And I did just that by taking a break from Baldi in order to play Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. Now, you may say this is an unnecessary side tangent, which it is, but one of the few Miis on my island was Baldi, okay? This is important to the challenge, I swear. But also, turns out, my Mii gets bitches! Yeah, multiple women had ended up falling for the little mini-me on my island, including both Kyoko Kirigiri and Elfelt Valentine, the latter of whom proceeded to chase my Mii around the island, piloted by the power of love. Yeah, that's right, bitch. I did with $60 what Verbalace did with 50k. Get on my level. If all goes well, my Mii will fall in love with one of these 2 by the end of the video. Now I know what you're thinking. Who would self-ship themselves with characters who aren't even real? Oh, that's me. And with that, I've said enough about Tomodachi Life to now legally consider this game a tax write-off. Anyways, with 1 run all the way to floor 4 under my belt, you may be wondering, how long did it take until I got another one? Yeah, making it past floor 3 is still incredibly unlikely to happen, even though I've done it before. And due to my lack of experience on later floors, I only squeaked out a 1 notebook PB on the 2nd run, collecting 4 out of the 7 on floor 4. After this, it took a few more hours just to get a 3rd run up to floor 4 in hopes of making it out. I was hoping this run could finally be the one to make some more meaningful progress. And oh man, meaningful progress I got. As in this run, I was in the home stretch of floor 5. After about 10 hours of playtime, I ended up concocting a route through Baldi's schoolhouse in order to make my odds of success just a bit better. You see, after clearing floor 1, I would go to Johnny's shop and purchase these two 100 YTP sticker packs. Essentially, floor 2 is where we're going to grind up a bunch of U-Thought points to spend on later floors. And by buying these 2 cheap sticker packs, we are guaranteed to get 1 of 3 stickers in each one that helps us grind them. You've got time bonus, which gives you more points depending on how fast you beat a floor, map bonus, which gives points based on how much of the map you explored, and distance bonus, which gives points determined by how far Baldi is from you when you leave at the final exit. Basically, we'll slap them on, complete floor 2, and because of how many points we've accumulated, we should be set to buy the maps for both floor 3 and floor 5, which allow us to see where everything is located on a given floor as soon as it begins. It's important we do so because both floors 3 and 5 generate huge levels which cause us to waste an enormous amount of time on just locating the notebooks. But with a map, we can see where everything is immediately and plan the most efficient route as soon as the floor begins. Anyways, just like any other attempt, the run began on floor 1, where after grabbing the last notebook, I hit the nastiest ankle break on Baldi I've ever seen. They thought I was f***ing new to Baldi's basics! They thought I was f***ing new to Baldi's basics! Oh my god! Floor 2 ended up going by without any real issues, and due to the map I bought on floor 3, I was able to plan out the perfect route to take. And thanks to some incredible locker luck saving my life a few times, I was able to enter at the final exit to leave with Baldi right on my tail. Now, after making it to floor 4, the game ends up taking a bit of a weird route. As for the final 2 floors, you can get one of 3 unique floor types that adds new mechanics to the gameplay, those being laboratory, factory, or maintenance. In a nutshell, laboratory is definitely the easiest, as it just involves you warping around the map via Baldi's teleporter to go to 4 different zones to grab all the notebooks. Factory is a bit worse as it involves a bunch of conveyor belts and cranes to get around. And maintenance... we're gonna hope we don't get maintenance. Thankfully, we ended up getting laboratory instead, and thanks to Baldi's teleporter alongside a surprisingly helpful assist from the stupid chud children in the open house event, I got all the notebooks and left the floor. And floor 5 was going shockingly well too, as even though we have to get 9 notebooks and go to 4 exits just like floor 3, thanks to the map I bought, I was able to plan out my route to collect all the notebooks. And before I knew it, I had all 9. Somehow, I had fluked a no items personal best from the middle of floor 4 all the way to the end of floor 5. And all I had to do now was make it to the exits and I would finally win. Oh man, let's just keep this success story going. Oh yeah, booyah, nothing can stop me now. Oh. Okay. So right after collecting the final notebook, Baldi plagued the school with f***ing Poseidon's curse, sending me into a whirlpool and right into him instantly. I had lost the run due to no fault of my own, and I was a little upset. After that moment, I let my friends know of 2 things that day. For one, I had choked a potentially challenge-winning run, and 2, I vowed revenge on he who wronged me.
Oh, hi.
Baldi was in fact not living the dream in Tomodachi life that day, as I did everything in my power to make his life as miserable as possible. When he begged for nourishment, I injected fluids into his body that would bring him great sorrow. Instead of letting him converse with his confidants, I isolated him on an island, and when he got the hiccups and needed my help, I poked him in his bum. Now I know what you're thinking. Who would ever do something this cruel? Oh! Oh! That's me! That's me! That's me! That's me! After going on this evil tirade though, I realized I was honestly going a little overboard. I mean, think about it. Although I did lose my run, it's still super cool I already got one that made it that far. Besides, I honestly doubt a run could ever get closer to victory and fail than this one did. The worst seems to have already passed by now. Realistically, it shouldn't take me that much longer to get a winning run. Over the next 10 hours, I could not get a winning run of Baldi's Basics Plus. It felt like almost everyone and everything had it out to end my runs in every single manner possible, including all the new characters they added. You see, in Baldi's Basics Plus, there are some new faces added into the game that love to waste your time. Like Cloudycopter, who sometimes just wouldn't stop blowing me, making traversal of the map a slog, and Miss Pomp, who upon encountering forces you to make it to a random classroom on the map within a 2-minute time limit. There's also Dr. Reflex, who stops you in your tracks in order to do a reaction minigame, Beans, who just loves to spit gum at you, slowing you down, and Shockles, whose only real sin is just looking scarily similar to that summoning circle they used in Adventure Time. There are a ton of characters, each with their own individual mechanics, that made this game feel like my own personal 50-20 just trying to appease them all. But not just that. It got to the point that even the floor generation itself was trying to prevent me from winning. As in Baldi's Basics Plus, there are many barriers that can generate, needing items to bypass, namely coin doors that require a quarter to open, and faculty doors that bar you from entry unless you have a faculty name tag item active. So if you ever get unlucky with the world generation, these blockades can just box you like a fish and there's nothing you can do. Wow! What f***ing wonderful luck I've just gotten! Wow! What, like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to f***ing do? 2 security doors and the f***ing 25-cent door. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do about that? The only saving grace around this time was when I would encounter our final new character, the Test, the absolute GOAT of Baldi's Basics Plus. As when you look at him, he slows down time, which brings both Baldi and events like the open house to a crawl, letting you avoid them. He's definitely the rarest character to spawn, but when you do get him, it's legendary. Unfortunately, the Test's time warping abilities could not mend the 20 hours I had put into the challenge at this point, and it was really starting to wear on me mentally. For comparison, in Markiplier's video where he attempted to beat the secret ending of the original Baldi's Basics, completed by getting all the questions wrong, it took him over 9 hours to get, and it got to the point that after failing so many runs due to bad RNG, when he finally did get the winning run, he stated he didn't even feel like it was worth the pain of doing. So when I'm on hour 20 of Baldi's Basics Plus, dealing with more characters, new events, and more floors than Markiplier ever had to, do you think it'd wear on me a little bit? Do you think I'd want to do literally anything else with my time instead of putting in another hour of failed attempts due to bad RNG? Worst of all, I'm stuck here playing this like some lonely loser chud. Meanwhile, my alter ego is probably having the time of his life in some meat pussy! I was hoping for a miracle to finally get me out of the challenge for good at this point. And thankfully, after 20 hours of gameplay, that wish seemed to be answered with the run of a lifetime.
Oh.
After over 20 hours of Baldi's Basics Plus, I got into a run that was truly something special, even at floor 1. You see, at the start of every floor, Baldi will do a countdown before he starts chasing you, but I was so fast at collecting all the notebooks that I left the floor with all of them before he even finished counting, finishing it up in only 27 seconds. Surprisingly enough, this run would get me 12th on the speedrun.com leaderboards for floor 1. It turns out, I had been doing so many runs that I got one of the top speedrun times by complete accident. In floor 2 was also finished up relatively quickly. Floor 3 is when the run seemed to be over, however, as before collecting all 9 notebooks, I ran into Miss Pomp, who instructed me to go to her class, but I decided not to go in order to collect the last 2 notebooks I needed and trigger the first 3 exits, causing her timer to reach 0. Left. I only need 1 more exit to leave though, so I'm sure she'll understand! Hello, neighbor. Yeah, when you don't go to Miss Pomp's class, she'll drag you to it in a fit of rage. And with Baldi being alerted on my location due to this, it seemed like the run would be over. I'm locked inside here and there's nowhere for me to hide. However, if playing Baldi's Basics for over 20 hours has taught me anything, it's that there are many more hiding spots than you may think, including in the level geometry itself. You see, when Baldi hears you enter a room and checks it himself, he doesn't actually know you're in there for sure unless he directly sees you. So if you stand behind a wall like I am here, Baldi will walk to the door he heard open, peek inside the room, not see you, and then leave completely, letting you live to see another day. I actually had to use these makeshift hiding blind spots multiple times on the floor. Once when all the super doors impeded my path forward, so I had to hide behind a pillar and wait for them to open. And secondly, when I got the Balderdash event at the final exit, in which Balders rolled around and squished me, making me physically unable to reach the final button to leave. Thankfully, with some nearby steam to hide in, I was able to wait the squish timer out and leave. I did all that chicanery just to make it out of floor 3. For a brief moment though, I was able to breathe a sigh of relief in Johnny's shop, and then I got maintenance for floor 4. Alright, let's talk about maintenance. Maintenance is what I like to call the Dead by Daylight floor, as both not only suck to play, but also share a very similar gameplay loop. You see, if you get a maintenance floor, most of the notebook rooms will be powered off, and you'll need to both find and switch on different generators to power the rooms. If you power on too many though, it'll cause a blackout and you'll need to reset all the power with this big switch. Essentially, maintenance floors are just one big fetch quest of find a notebook room, follow the wire to the corresponding generator, power it on, go back to said notebook room to complete it, and then go back to that generator to shut it off as to not cause a blackout. All the while, all this steam on the floor makes you bumble around and not know where you're going. I'm at least thankful I got maintenance on floor 4 instead of floor 5, because on floor 5 you'd have to find 9 notebooks and go to 4 exits, which provides infinitely more chances to screw up. You'd have to be a god to do it itemless. Surprisingly though, I was actually able to have a fairly solid run through the maintenance floor I got, grabbing all 7 notebooks, and all that was left was to make it to the exits. Unfortunately though, I ended up staring at the final character I've yet to mention, Arts and Crafters, who becomes enraged if you do so and warps you right next to Baldi. At this point, I only needed to make it to the last exit, but this was gonna be close. Oh my god! Oh my f***ing god! Oh my f***ing god! Oh my god. By the skin of my teeth, I clutched out a win on floor 4, and all that was left in my way of victory was floor 5. Hey, so there's something I want to quickly mention I noticed after editing that last segment. Usually, for Arts and Crafters to become angry, you have to have him visible on your screen for at least 1 second. But during that floor 4 I just had, he is absolutely nowhere to be seen until this moment, where he is somehow already enraged. He wanted my ass dead at frame 1! Genuinely nothing wrong I did there. He's just my #1 hater. Anyways, I was fortunate enough to get Laboratory as my floor 5, which is by far the best one for us to get. This is because when you use one of Baldi's 4 teleporters found within his lab rooms to warp around the map, all the pods are spread out really far from each other, which forces Baldi to travel an absurd distance in order to catch up. And thanks to this, I was able to meticulously go around the map and collect all 9 notebooks. After 10 hours, I finally had another opportunity to make it out of the floor, and I swiftly triggered the first, the second, and the third exits, with me only needing to make it to 1 more to finally win the challenge. Unfortunately, by the time I triggered the 3rd exit, Baldi was right behind me, so I was forced to hop in a locker to save myself. My nerves were absolutely through the roof, but the plan for success was really simple. All I had to do was leave the locker when Baldi says, "I know you're in there," take a right, and enter his lab in order to warp to where the final exit lies. Finally finishing floor 5 and finally completing this challenge for good. And so, I left the locker and made a final sprint towards the lab. The fruits of my labor were finally within reach! All the clever gameplay, all the close calls, the culmination of 20 hours of work had all led to this moment. An amazing ending to an amazing run. Truly, it would have been perfect. But some things just aren't meant to be. It's a 2, it's a 2, it's a 2, it's a 2, it's a 2. No! 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 No, 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 no! 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 Oh my god! Oh my god! Fuck! Fuck! I don't think I've ever felt more agony and pain in my body than when I choked that run. 20 hours of attempts, all for nothing at all. But the worst part was, unlike previous failures, I knew this one was all my fault. Unlike past attempts where I simply got unlucky, this loss was solely of my own volition, as there was an incredibly short path to Baldi's lab, but in a panic I messed up and took the far further route. It was so free. All I had to do was run the other direction and I would have made it. And all those 20 hours would have actually amounted to something. But no, I just couldn't be done yet. And I had to live with the fact that my own incompetence ruined a run that could have gone the full distance. And as it turns out, this failure would end up tormenting me for the next 25 hours. If this challenge has taught me anything, it's that the sunk cost fallacy is one of the worst mentalities that can plague man. I was so close to winning before that I was willing to go to extreme lengths for victory. Although, looking back, I don't think the way I took this choke was healthy, as when I woke up the next morning, I ended up putting in, I don't know, 12.5 hours into Baldi's Basics in a single day. I didn't end up getting a winning run in those 12 hours, by the way. It was all for nothing. But I did get something else out of it. You see, while my buddy John was watching my Baldi screen share of immense sorrow and sadness in a VC, he decided to gift me a Steam game for my efforts. Now, I never could have expected that Steam game to be a copy of Ultra fucking Fuckable Championship, but I guess it's the thought that counts, right? It didn't really matter what game it was, though. As in the wake of my grind, I made it a rule that I wasn't allowed to play any games that weren't Baldi's Basics Plus until I beat the challenge, which means no Ultra fucking Fuckable Championship for me. Anyways, day 2 of the great grind session came, and if you think it couldn't get any worse, it absolutely could! You see, I had not 1, but 2 runs make it all the way to floor 5 with all 9 notebooks collected, but I just couldn't close them out! In the first run, Miss Pump locked me in her classroom, and with no hiding spot this time around, I was absolutely fried, only getting 1 of the 4 exits. And in the second run, I got 2 out of the 4 exits before First Prize decided the challenge shouldn't be over yet! Come on, man! Can I just get 1 fucking run? Can I just get 1? Just get fucking 1 run, man. That's all I want. That's all I fucking want. Failing these 2 runs meant I now had 4 unique runs all make it to the escape sequence of floor 5, all with a different amount of exits collected. I had done absolutely everything but activate all 4 at this point. 35 hours in, and I still can't close a run out! Way to go, guys! Let's shoot for 40! Unfortunately though, by the time day 3 rolled around and I actually got to hour 40, I eventually stopped laughing off the absurdity of my situation and I started to feel miserable. I had now spent 40 hours of my life playing Baldi's Basics Plus, and every hour that passed started to feel like it was only a result of my agonizing failure. This challenge started to feel like a prison of my own creation. I mean, if I just didn't choke at the last exit of floor 5 20 hours ago, I wouldn't be here anymore. It didn't help that around this time, I ended up having a 5th run make it all the way to the floor 5 exit sequence. But yet again, I messed up as I lost track of Baldi, which caused me to get caught and lose another potentially winning run. And this caused me to hit absolute rock bottom. I'm never gonna get this video out. I'm never gonna be able to get it out because I'm never gonna be able to do it. I will fail this over and over and over again, and I'll never be able to do it. I will never be able to do it. I'm never gonna be able to do it. When you fail once, you can say you just got unlucky. When you fail twice, you can say it just wasn't meant to be. But when you failed at the very end 5 separate times, you start to think it's not the game that's giving you a problem, it's you that's giving yourself a problem. I know that sometimes victory would just be out of my control, as the game wouldn't let me win, but even when everything went perfectly, it felt like I wouldn't let me win. It truly felt like the only thing keeping me trapped here were my failures in the past. So I decided that when I got an opportunity in the future to finally end this waking nightmare, I wasn't gonna let a floor 5 victory slip by me like before. And when that opportunity befell upon me 45 hours into the challenge, I was done failing. I was gonna be free. After over 45 hours of playing Baldi's Basics Plus, I loaded into one final attempt. I'll be honest, I might be the world's most sweaty Baldi's Basics Plus player this world has ever seen, as it got to the point that I ended up swapping on captions just like all those try-hard Fortnite players who use visualized audio even if they don't need it. I felt so goddamn unemployed. Once I started up the run, it began pretty uneventfully as I cleared floor 1 without issue and only really had problems once I grabbed the final notebook of floor 2. I ended up completing a bonus problem in order to barely pass through Baldi within his prey stun, but I ended up running into playtime with Baldi right behind me. To save the run, I had to do an incredibly fast itemless jump rope cancel to just barely sprint to the final elevator with both Baldi and the principal right on my tail. With the map purchased for floor 3, I ended up utilizing a pretty unique strategy. You see, a big problem with some notebook rooms is that they're pretty out of the way, and if it's the last one you grab, you'll have to walk decently far to make it to any of the exits. Therefore, I would mark one notebook room on my map close to an exit to be my final one to grab, as it would allow me to activate all the exits way more efficiently. Thanks to this strategy, I was able to intentionally leave a convenient notebook as the last one for me to grab, and once I collected it, I was able to walk all along the outskirts of the map with Baldi right behind. Unfortunately, playtime showed up once more, and I normally would have been dead from how fast Baldi was, but thanks to that cheeky corner strat I discovered, I was able to save my run from ruin and make it to floor 4. Floor 4 ended up being a factory floor, and although it's not the best floor type we could have gotten, the random generation was super kind to us as the 2 exits were located right next to each other. It still wasn't easy, but after performing some absurd actions like completing Dr. Reflex's test in the middle of a student shuffle wave, I activated the 2 exits and left floor 4. All that was left was floor 5. The beast I've spent over 45 hours trying to conquer. But it seemed like my fate was already sealed before I even stepped foot on the floor. You see, I not only ended up getting maintenance as my floor 5, by far the worst floor type I could have gotten, but I was also just barely unable to afford a map, which meant I was going into the hardest floor in the game with no items and no idea where I was going. All on only one life. It had to be the worst set of circumstances the game could have ever given me. It was the most difficult, the most unlucky, the most cruel, and without a doubt, the most perfect way to win. Alright, so for this final floor, I decided to play it out as deliberately and calculated as I possibly could. You see, when I began the level, I enacted an opening gambit. That being to intentionally keep my notebook count low so Baldi stayed slow and couldn't catch me, and instead patiently mapped out the entire floor to concoct a plan of attack. When absolutely nobody was around, I would switch on the generators to power the rooms, and when the school had its open house, I held a secure position in the corner for its entire duration. Failure was not an option anymore. Unfortunately, I ended up getting spring-trapped with no way out halfway into the floor. Baldi! Baldi, don't leave me here! Baldi! Baldi! And when one of the doors finally opened, Baldi was charging towards me and I had nowhere to run. But thanks to a singular locker, I was just barely able to keep the run alive. After close to 10 minutes straight of this careful, calculated gameplay, I was able to concoct a plan to grab every single remaining notebook, all with my final ace in the hole. If we take a look at the map, you'll notice that I've powered on all the remaining notebook rooms, so I'm fully able to grab everything in one fell swoop. The plan was to grab these 2 on the right, then swiftly grab all 3 of these in the corner, and finally end off at this final notebook, where 2 exit elevators would be right there waiting for my arrival. Then I would utilize my secret weapon, that being 2 elevator gear stickers I had equipped before the floor began, eliminating the need to activate 2 exits entirely and allowing me to leave once I made it to this one right here. This was truly the greatest plan I could have concocted, as once I obtained all 9 notebooks and had 2 exits already activated, I swiftly moved to the 3rd and activated it with Baldi far behind, with the final exit being just around the corner. After 45 hours of heartbreak, 45 hours of agony, and 45 hours of self-resentment, I was faced with the hardest floor type and the hardest set of circumstances the game could have ever given me, but I wasn't gonna let anything hold me back anymore. Not the game, and not myself. I was gonna be free.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, dude, I don't believe it! I don't fucking believe it! Oh my gosh, they finally fucking did it!
And with that, I'm proud to say that after 45 hours, I proved it's possible to beat Baldi's Basics Plus with no items and with only 1 life to do it. The challenge was finally over. Originally, the reason I made this video was because I wanted to showcase a game I felt hadn't gotten the respect it deserved on YouTube. Baldi's Basics is a game that's been absolutely overrun with slop content, and I wanted to try and combat that with this challenge. But when I finally completed this Herculean challenge, I think my reasoning had changed. You see, part of me has always thought my challenges haven't been hard enough. I'll look at other creators and I see them accomplish these massive feats beyond my wildest dreams. But when I look at what I've done, sometimes I feel as if I'm not doing enough. I mean, when you focus your channel on a game where one of the main points in every video is just saying how unchallenging the game is, it's easy to think you aren't pushing yourself. It doesn't help that whenever I'm invited to collaborate on a video with friends, I'm always viewed as the guy who's either less knowledgeable or less skilled than everyone else. Now, I'll always believe just as long as a challenge is entertaining, that's all that really matters. But I've always wanted just one challenge that showcases I'm capable of accomplishing feats that are truly astounding, where if I really tried to do something, I'd be able to see it through to the end no matter the adversity in my way. And with this challenge completed, I think I've finally found exactly what I was looking for. I'll be honest, I don't care if this video performs poorly, because the fact that it exists at all gives me a better feeling than any statistic ever could. And so, after breaking free of my chains once and for all, I was finally free to check up on what my little mini-me was up to. And it turns out that the both of us truly had our happiest day.